Okay, once again, very good evening. So I'm Dr. Lalith Liyanage, Chairman IET Sri Lanka Network, and we have our guest speaker today, Mr. Thulci Aluwihare, who will talk about overview of Port City Project Colombo from conceptualization to realization. And as a tradition, IET Sri Lanka Network holds event, once a month event, and this is one of the evening forums which we used to have at Galadari Hotel. Due to the pandemic, we had to convert them into webinars, and we selected a very timely topic. If I ask you what is the hottest topic in Sri Lanka these days, obviously it is the COVID-19 pandemic. After that, for last couple of months, I think Sri Lankans were heavily talking about the Port City project, especially when the Port City Commission bill, when it was launched, people were talking about it, and there was a webinar on 2nd of June on the Port City Commission bill, where Thulci was also a speaker, and I attended this webinar and learned a lot about this Port City, the entire Port City project. And before I let Thulci to talk about Port City, my honest opinion about the Port City project is that not being biased politically or any other means, but these are the investment drives for any country. Of course, Sri Lankans are worried about involvement of Chinese government in this whole affair, but we can see people talk about Port City project. Many people talk about Port City project without having much information with them. Just for the trend, people start talking about it. I think at the end of Thulci's presentation today, we'll be able to learn many things about the project and clear most of our doubts. I also had my own research about this project, and as far as I know, this is a private-public partnership between Sri Lankan government and the company CHEC. I'm not sure whether if I pronounce it CHEC or CHEC, CHEC Colombo Port City Company. So they have invested so far. I think Thulci will give us correct figures, about 1.4 billion US dollars to reclaim about 269 hectares of land. And this is a man-made island. There are many man-made islands in the world. One example is Palm Islands in Dubai. I have witnessed them. So there are 3 artificial islands in Dubai: Palm Jumeirah, Deira Island, and Palm Jebel Ali. So in the first island, Palm Jumeirah, was started constructing in 2001. And I learned that by 2009, after 8 years, there were 28 hotels open. So you can roughly guess how long these projects take. without any political or economical or whatever the disturbances. And we know what happened to Port City. It was started somewhere 2010-11, and then we had a kind of a break after 2015, I think, couple of years, and then it restarted. So I learned in literature that the entire Port City project will be completed somewhere in 2041. So Thulci can correct again if I'm wrong. And you can see how long these projects take. And out of 269 hectares, for the investment of 1.4 billion US dollars, CHEC Port City Colombo Private Limited will claim about 116 hectares, which is about, I think, 43%, and 57% will, I mean, that is also on 99-year lease, and rest of the land will be under the government of Sri Lanka. The entire reclaimed land has been handed over to UDA, Urban Development Authority, in 2019. So these are some of the information I gathered, but we have the specialist to speak about Port City from conceptualization to its realization today. Since this audience is mainly with engineering background, they will be very interested to learn how the entire reclamation project process was going on and what are the challenges they face, and also what is going on. I know now the reclamation process is over. Now the infrastructure development is going on, which is again challenging. So basically, Thulci will talk about from conceptualization to realization and the need that existed for a reclaimed extension to the Colombo. The process of reclamation and the thinking behind Sri Lanka's first master plan city. The presentation will also elaborate on the commercial arrangement between the project company and the government of Sri Lanka and their respective obligations, which is very important from the political point of view. And then further, the discussion will highlight the need for a special economic zone, the proposed legal construct, its merits, and the way forward. So if I may introduce Mr. Thulci Aluwihare. He is the Assistant Managing Director of CHEC Port City Colombo Private Limited, a reputed business strategist and financial advisor with international experience in corporate wealth creation through investment, divestiture, capital raising, and restructuring, plus 20 years of work experience in London, Melbourne, and Colombo. He's working closely with the government of Sri Lanka to set up a special economic zone within Port City to attract FDIs, foreign direct investment. That is the main benefit I learned, that this type of special economic zones and man-made islands in many countries, why they are having this type of investments, initiatives, and then to promote export of services and ease of doing business. Prior to joining CHEC Port City Colombo Private Limited, Thulci was the head of mergers and acquisitions at PricewaterhouseCoopers Sri Lanka and Maldives. Thulci is an economic graduate from the University of West London, UK, and holds an MSc in Financial Economics from the University of Colombo. So this is a brief introduction of Thulci. So with that, may I request all the participants to switch off your mics and videos and let Thulci switch on his video and mic. And it's 6:51. Thulci can go for 45 minutes to 1 hour in your presentation. And then we will open the question and answers. I request all of you to raise your questions in the chat box so that at the end of the presentation, I can raise all your questions with Thulci and get clarifications. Please raise your questions in the chat box. With that, let me thank, first of all, for accepting our invitation and allocating his valuable time today with us, Mr. Thulci Aluwihare. And I thank all the participants. Very interesting, very encouraging. We have about 45 at the moment. I guess there will be more joining us. With that, let me invite Thulci to share your slides and start your presentation.